Mm, yeah.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Second Spring Podcast. Today, I have a special, wonderful guest. Her name is Nadej Saysana, and Nan, you will correct my pronunciation. Um, she also goes by Nan. That's how I usually call her. I have known Nan for a few years now. She was probably one of my first life coaches that helped me through a bunch of different things through the life coach school. We were both trained to be life coaches through that school. And I have watched how Nan has grown into her practice and just really enjoy knowing her and watching and emulating her ways of living. She is a fellow midlife woman, a mother of two, and just a generally wonderful person. So welcome, Nan, to the podcast, and thank you for saying yes.
Oh, thank you so much for your invitation. And I love having conversation with you. It's always been a pleasure to see you. So thank you so much. And there's no need for correction. You said my name perfectly, Nadej Saysana. And you're right. I go by Nan because I think it's simple.
Yeah. So if people haven't already guessed, you are French.
I am. Yeah,
And we are talking today. I am in Columbus, Ohio, but you are in Paris, correct?
exactly. Exactly. Yes, I've been living in Paris for, well, nearly 30 years now, and I love it.
Ah, well, having known that, let's have you share a little bit about your background,
Mm,
kind of like where you grew up, how you
mm.
grew up, and a little cliff note. That's the American version of like a
Right.
short version
Mhm.
of your life and how you got to be doing what you're doing today.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, I was born not in Paris, but in the suburbs of Paris, which is a bit different because it's like a city, a town where there are cars and so on. You need to drive and to go to different places. Whereas in Paris, I don't need to drive anywhere. I don't like driving, so it's actually perfect for me. But I grew up in those suburbs in a beautiful family, beautiful house, and I was always intrigued by languages. And when I first heard English, I loved the language. I
Mm,
really love the language. So naturally, I started studying it. I studied it in Paris. And that's how I became a teacher. I became an English teacher when I was about 22, 23, and then I moved to Paris. I had my first flat and cat there. And I was a teacher for 23 years. I loved that. I loved sharing the knowledge I had and the love I have for the English language and the culture. That was really a good time. And then I found coaching, and I really saw the similarities between the two, which are, it's really based on what you already know,
mm,
because the English language is so so everywhere in
mm,
France, but it's just that we don't pay attention, and some people think that they can't speak English. So it was all a matter of revealing to them that, see, you know more than you think you do. And coaching is much the same. It's just, but you don't know you know. So let me ask you a few questions to show you that you do know, to show you that you have agency, power over your own life. And so I saw that it was very similar.
mm,
And when I had an opportunity to go full-time coaching, I chose that because with one-to-one coaching, you can go deeper. And yeah, it's different from being in front of a classroom, a class full of different people. It's just we can really zoom in to whatever the person is experiencing. So that was my career.
mm,
And I got married also when I was 29.
mm.
So quite a while ago. And so we've always lived in Paris, my husband and I. And what I love, one of the things that attracted me to my husband was that he was from a Chinese background. So I wanted to live in Paris because of the cultural diversity. And I was thrilled to have found a mate who was just like me, thinking that we were human beings before everything else.
Mm.
And we've got two kids together who, of course, are amazing. maybe a bit biased, but
We all are.
right. So
It's
our
a good thing for the children that we're biased.
I think so. I think so. And so our son turned 20 last year, and our daughter is about to turn 13. And we recently adopted a cat, which we're completely crazy about,
Mm,
about 3 years ago. So yeah, I'm really lucky to feel really privileged to live
mm.
this life. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. That sounds like fun. I'm sure you kind of skimmed over a few things
Mm.
about your life, but we get a sense of how you got to be a full-time coach now,
Mm.
and you are doing that part of that transitioning from being like a busy full-time mom to
Mhm.
probably raising young adults, although you do have a teenager still.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is that quite different to have a 20-year-old and a 13-year-old at the same time?
Hmm. I think so. And at the same time, so I hope I hope it's okay. But at the same time, my son being a bit I don't know, he still likes to have the guidance
Hmm.
of his mom. So it's not as if, even though he's an adult, he still relies on me. And I
Hmm.
like that, I must
Oh,
say.
yeah.
Although
Oh,
he's,
yeah.
he's maturing very much. I can see how he's
Mhm.
growing up much more. And my daughter is very much, she doesn't need as much guidance,
Mhm.
and she loves to try things on her own. So it's really interesting to see that they seem to be having the same level of, you know, kind of need for me.
Mhm.
And the age gap
Mm.
doesn't feel like such a big gap. It doesn't feel that much
Mm.
different.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it has a lot to do with personalities,
I think so.
right?
Yeah.
And me having a boy and a girl as well,
Hmm.
uh, I and this is probably completely not PC, but I do feel like boys tend to mature later
Hmm.
than girls. And so, yeah, they probably meet somewhere
Yeah.
in the middle
Hmm.
for some things, but I'm sure there
Hmm.
are other things that he is very mature and
Hmm.
far ahead of his sister.
Right. Yeah, I've got the same feeling, and yeah, I think also think that it may not be PC, but it's my experience. I only have two children, so of course,
Yep. Yep.
statistics are very hard to make with two people,
Yeah.
but that's my impression too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have a boy and a girl of the same age because they're
Hmm.
twins. So that's all we know too. It's funny,
Hmm.
our truth is our reality or vice versa.
Exactly.
So you are, I believe we're very close in age. You're 49, I want to say.
Yes. This year I turn 50, so it's going to be in May, and I'm thrilled.
Oh, please, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
You're thrilled about turning 50. I want to hear
Yes.
about it.
Right, because I see it as a turning point, but in a good way. I've heard some of my clients actually say that it's as if they're reaching they were one woman in particular I remember was turning 40,
Mm,
and she was saying that as an expiration date. Just I'm about to reach expiration date, and that horrified me because I never thought that way. On the
yeah.
contrary, I'm thinking that the older I get, the wiser I get, and
Hmm.
that appeals to me. And I've seen on Instagram, I think I saw a little post about the older you get, the more you up level your life, just as if
Mm.
it was a game, a video game. Oh, I'm reaching level 50, and that makes me
Mm.
excited. And also, I must say that once again, I'm biased. My grandmother is turning 105 next Sunday. And
Wow.
so I'm picturing myself, having at least 55 years of life ahead of me. I want to make the most of it. There's no way I'm
Mm.
going to think that from now on I'm declining. I don't
Mm.
see it as true. I don't live it, in
Mm.
my body. It's getting even better and better.
Mhm.
So why would I choose to think that it's decline, it's going downhill from here and just, okay, let's watch Netflix with a tub of ice cream? No.
I like that idea of, if life was a game and with each year we're climbing up a
Yeah.
higher level.
Mm-mm.
of the game, which, of course, everybody likes that, uh,
Yes.
to 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 be a little bit better. And
Mm-mm.
there's kind of no way of going down because
Mm.
it's life is a one way, one
Yes, yes.
direction. Yeah, yeah. I love
Mhm.
that. And your grandmother at over 100, that's
Mhm.
wonderful.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about that.
Mhm.
Um, I wanted to see, so turning 50 next year and being where you are in life,
Mhm.
a mom of two, full-time coach,
Mhm.
how does that feel? Like if you just sort of settle just into this moment
Mhm.
and recognizing that these are some facts about me right
Mhm.
now, what comes up for you?
Yeah. I think it's this intense joy
Mm,
looking back about what what life has given me that of course I created, I maintained, I enriched, but it's also part of the yes, I was really dealt a nice deck of cards. And
mm,
I feel really privileged. I feel really lucky, grateful for
mm,
this life. And yeah, it's as if I was given seeds that are wonderful seeds. And so I
mhm,
want to keep on watering them. I want to keep on nurturing them. I
mhm,
want to keep on, yeah, benefiting from them. And I can see that as far as my body is concerned. So I think I'm not quite sure, but I think that I'm going through menopause because starting last year, I had, the hot flashes that everybody mentions, and it
mhm,
was quite clear to me. Just,
mhm,
okay, something's happening. And at the same time, I started bodybuilding. I
mm,
started I started eating more protein and really taking care of my body. And I've never had any particular physical issue. And yet I can feel the improvement now. So it's as
mhm,
if it can only get better. Now I'm feeling more aligned, maybe attuned to my body than ever because I know myself so much better.
mhm.
So it's just keeps on getting better and better.
Yeah, because we're now at stage almost 50 in the
Yes,
game.
yes, absolutely.
So I wanted to ask, and I'm sure a lot of people have the same question because the French culture, French people, French everything, um, at least to the outside world,
Mhm,
there's what is the term for it? Well, there is that term called the French paradox. I
mhm.
think you probably have heard of that. But I'm
Yes.
I'm curious for you, having grown up in France
Mhm,
and being where you are now in life, is it at all similar to America or the other Western cultures where there's there's this thing called ageism, like
mm,
how getting older is not it's not as valued. There's this strive for youth and
mm,
staying young and looking young and
mhm,
all of that. So what is that like for you as a French person and growing up there? Also
mhm,
knowing, because the world's getting smaller all the time, also
mhm.
knowing what other cultures think about aging.
Yes. Yes, you're right. I think it's very present in France too.
Mm,
Um, yes, like it's as if when you reach a certain age, you can't do what younger people can do, or you're not supposed to do some things. I don't know, wearing a bikini at some point, maybe not.
mm,
But those are ideas from the society.
mm,
I'm not choosing to think that I
mhm,
should deprive myself of something that's pleasurable to me.
mm,
But you're right. And then when I hear my dad is 73, and he's really thinking, he heard that quote one day on the radio that getting old is just like uh, shipwreck.
mm,
And he believes that, he agrees with that story. And and I can see how painful it can be.
mm,
But things are declining. things are not working as well, which of
Mhm.
course is true because with age, there are changes in the
Mhm.
body. But I can see how painful it can be to believe that it can only be this way. So as you said,
Mhm.
it's only a one-way street,
Mhm. Mhm.
but it's um, it's getting worse and worse. So,
So
mm,
you grew up with this sort of concept as well, that
right.
getting older is not the best thing and
Mm-mm,
something to avoid and to seek youth and the
mm-mm,
looks and the feel. So what have you done
mhm.
for you in order to think and feel the way you are today? Because that sounds like the opposite of what you grew up with.
Mm-mm, mm. And I must say that part of it is that I'm lucky because I don't dye my hair, so nearly
Mhm.
50, and my hair color hasn't changed. So there's part of it that I don't have to work much on it.
Mm.
Um, but the one thing that I'm really working on is building muscle. Uh,
Mm.
that's the thing that, and I think that in France the culture is very different from the United States. I was very surprised when my best friend, who's lived in the US since she was maybe 4, she used to lift weights
Mm.
when she was in high school, whereas in France it's kind of frowned upon as for women to
Mm.
lift weights.
Heavy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And recently I went to the library and I wanted to browse books on weightlifting. And it was a book on weightlifting with no weight at all. It was
Ah.
just body weight. And just so it really, so still today, people really believe that if you lift weights, you're going to bulk up. And women, French women, should never, ever bulk up. Otherwise, you're going to look like the Hulk. That's really the sentence that I
Interesting.
hear. That's
Uh-huh.
the only option.
Even today.
Even today, yes. And when I suggested to my mom, who's got, I think it's called osteoporosis, the bone,
Yep.
yes, getting thinner and thinner and weaker. When I
Hmm.
suggested that she could lift weights, she just laughed me off. It's just,
Hmm.
that's really, even though you notice the problem, you know the solution, nope,
Hmm.
it's a no, you're not going to do this. That's really part of the French mentality.
Yeah.
And I think I'm hoping, and I think I'm seeing that. I'm hoping that mentalities which will change because people
Hmm.
really think that it's just vain to
Mm.
lift weights. It's just vain, and I don't believe it is because it could be also altruistic. I want to maintain my body the
Hmm.
best as I can so that others don't have to take care of me as I grow older. So it's not just for me because I feel amazing, but it's also for the other people to lighten their load.
Hmm.
I know. Mm,
Yeah, that's something that's news to me that
mm,
that the French still feel like lifting heavy weights for
mm,
women is a negative,
mm,
and that it's going to bulk up the muscles and we're
mm.
going to look like a man
Right.
when all sorts of research have come out to show that that is not true at
Mm,
all.
mm.
And in fact, lifting heavy, I mean, we don't have to be crazy,
No.
but heavier, the more strength we have, the more we can lift and the better that is for our bones.
Mhm.
And I mean, obviously we'll strengthen our muscles, but what happens is the muscles hold the bones together.
Yes.
So the stronger the muscles, the sturdier the bones, and
Mhm.
that will prevent the falls and the fractures and the breaks
Exactly.
that can definitely be
Mm.
devastating for us, for everybody,
Mhm.
but especially women as we get older.
Yes. Yes. And it's as if this information cannot reach somehow
Yeah.
French ears.
Yep, maybe because the belief is so strong and
Exactly.
you're not willing to let that go yet.
Yes, exactly. And I know that my husband doesn't lift weight. Is
Mm.
his thing is Aikido, which is a Japanese martial art. But when some friends came to my house some time ago and they saw my barbell, they immediately thought, "Oh, so it's Phil's barbell lying on the ground." I was just like, yes.
That's incredible. well, maybe your job is to turn things around in France.
Right. That's what I want. That's what I want.
Single-handedly, you can,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, you can start showing them. Um, Speaking of building muscles and exercising and getting stronger, what got you to that place? Like,
Mm,
especially because of
mm.
being in France and people around you aren't into that. What inspired you to do so?
Yeah. Well, what inspired me was really me turning 50, having that age, and wanting to give myself, to really give in the sense of gift,
Mm,
gift myself something amazing for the next 50 years,
mm,
50 plus years. And so, yeah, when I looked around, and I definitely got it from Instagram, I
mhm,
got very inspired by women our age,
mhm,
in their 50s or even higher, even older, even in their 70s, who are lifting weights and who can enjoy their life
mhm,
without reduced mobility, without reduced flexibility. And
mhm,
that seemed very appealing to me because I don't want to be um, not to be able to do what I want to do. I
mhm,
love walking in Paris. I want to do
mhm,
that as for as long as possible.
mhm.
So, mm,
Yeah, I think that's something that we need to remind ourselves and also help share with other people that when it comes to fitness,
mhm,
it should be very little about the way we look,
mhm,
you know, what we look like in jeans or I mean, of course that helps with our confidence,
mhm,
but but as I get older, it's definitely about how am I getting off the ground?
mhm,
Or, when I go up the stairs, how do my knees feel?
mhm,
How do I feel when I first wake up in the morning? Am I creaky? Am I able to, yeah, do the activities that
yeah,
not just I like to do, but I have to do to
mhm,
move through the days. So it's I know so much of it still is about how much we weigh and what we
mhm.
look like. Uh, but truly, health and fitness should really be about the quality of life.
I agree. I agree. Yes. And I think it's more about the way you feel
Mm,
rather than the way you look, although they probably go hand in hand.
yep, yep, yep.
It's
Nope,
just,
that's yeah. Unfortunately,
mm,
unfortunately, that's still true, right?
right.
That if we feel like we look good,
Mhm,
well, you have to correct me because you're a coach as well, and feeling could
mhm.
be an actual emotion that we feel in our body or a thought that we have in our in our
Yeah,
head,
yeah.
right? So that's yeah, that can be confusing for even
Right.
even for me right now.
Right, but I believe they go together. If, well, for instance, when I started lifting heavier,
Mm,
the pain I had in my neck, the pain I had in my lower back, they disappeared, and that's a sensation. So
mm,
it's a fact that I no longer have those pains, and I'm really grateful for that. But
mhm,
also the way I feel about me when I work out, it's just oh, I'm creating something amazing for me today because I
mhm,
feel amazing right now doing it, but also for my future self tomorrow, next year,
mhm,
next decade. And it's that kind of connection, that self-love,
mhm,
that's an emotion that I feel because I'm choosing to think about what good I can give myself today
mhm,
and for
mhm.
the future. So it's both. I think it's it's connected. Yes, those
Yeah.
sensations, those emotions, they go together. Mm.
Yeah. I have to remind myself too that the feelings that we experience
Mhm.
really comes down to the frequency of our energy,
Mm.
and then when we name it something, then it becomes an emotion, right?
Yes.
And I love that emotion is energy in motion, which is really the vibrations and the frequency in our body that's allowing us to experience something.
Mhm.
Um, I was talking to a friend just the other day, actually. She just started lifting weights as well,
Mhm.
personal training for the first time in her life, and she's in her early 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And I was asking how she was liking it or not. And she said, "Oh, I love it." With sort of like like a nice surprise for her that she wasn't
Mm.
expecting to love it. She's loving it. And so I was agreeing with her because I have loved working out that way as well. And so I said, "Well, why do you love it?"
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that she said was, "I feel so much stronger.
Yes.
And I feel strong when I'm lifting,
Mm-hmm.
when I get to lift a little bit heavier the next day, or doing something that I didn't think I could, or doing more repetitions than I did yesterday."
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that feeling of feeling strong is so, I don't know, I think we take it for granted, or we
Mm-hmm.
might not even know that that is such a good feeling, you know?
I agree. Yes.
So if weightlifting can help you feel that way
Mm-hmm.
in the moment, and afterwards, after you leave the gym,
Yes.
you can carry more groceries
Mm.
from the store,
Absolutely.
or push, I don't know, these are such mundane things, but I know changing bed sheets, if you get to
Mm-hmm.
do that, sometimes you have to lift that heavy mattress to get something under, and to make that a simpler task than
Mm-hmm.
before because you're stronger. There's something to that.
I totally agree. Yes. And I love how you mentioned that feeling stronger is actually a mixture of different emotions, like the pride that we feel, the accomplishment that we feel when we
Mhm.
notice that first we can do it, and then we can increase the load, and
Mhm.
we can see how it's benefiting us in different areas. Very mundane, as you said, very ordinary tasks, but tasks that we do want to accomplish, that we do want to take. Yes. And I love what you said about, and it's emotion is energy in motion, because it's really the emotion is what makes us move. The emotion that we feel is what actually makes us do something about it, which is also setting things in motion. And then it's this domino effect. It's just like, okay, I'm starting lifting weight, and I'm going to see different areas of my life that are going to be different because of that first step
Mhm.
that I took. So good.
Yeah. So I'm going to have you kind of walk us through the doing, then the acting and the
Mhm.
feeling, which
Mhm.
is how you and I were taught around life
Mhm.
coaching.
Yes.
And what was I going to say? Yeah, that is, and the beauty of something like weightlifting, doing something harder than you expected and
Mhm.
continuing and being consistent, it then feeds itself and
Yes.
make it this wonderful positive feedback loop,
Mhm.
because the more you do it, the better you feel, which then makes you want to do it even more.
Exactly. It's a bit
Yeah.
addictive.
Yes, yes. So if you don't mind, Nan,
Mhm.
for people who aren't familiar with the what we call the life coaching
Mhm.
model,
Mhm.
which is going to go beautifully with the way that we've been talking about so far.
Mhm.
Um, can you just kind of walk us through why it is that when we feel a certain way, we do the thing that we want to actually do, which then gives us the result that we want, which then creates that loop back to wanting to feel the same way and doing the same thing again.
Yeah. Well, yes, absolutely. So maybe the best way to do that is to give you an example. So
Hmm.
when I think about me turning 50,
Mm.
so it's going to be in May, and when I think of my future version of me, who in 2 months' time now, today as we are recording this, I'm thinking I'm going to give myself the best present possible, the best gift possible. And that thought, when I think that thought, I feel lit up inside. I feel some form of excitement and some form of one of my clients called it pre-pride. It's just like we
Oh.
anticipating the pride ahead of time. We're feeling the pride, even though I'm not 50 yet. I don't have, the the looks or the feelings that I want to have for my 50th birthday, but I can see that already. It's already in my mind's eye. I can already see this because I'm choosing to think I'm going to give myself the best gift ever.
Mhm.
And when I think this thought, I'm going to give myself the best gift ever. So I feel that pre-pride, this excitement, this anticipation, just like, when you were a kid and maybe you were going to celebrate your birthday and you were just, oh, I'm going to get presents. Or
Mhm.
when you're planning a holiday and you're anticipating that it's going to be wonderful. So that's really that sense that I feel, that emotion that I feel. And when I feel this way, then it's so easy for me to put things into place. So, okay, if this is the gift that I want to give myself, then what are the different steps that I need to take? Well, I need to plan my food. Um, I need to block some time to go to the gym. I need to make sure that I have the material that I need. So the dumbbells, the barbells. I need to make sure that the machines are working if I go at the gym. If I go to the gym, I need to make sure that that I also have the time to recover properly. So maybe I'll go to bed a bit earlier. I'll make sure I go grocery shopping to have the foods that I know are going to help me do this. And so I put all those things in place. And perhaps at the same time, I don't worry. Perhaps I
Mhm.
don't compare and despair when I think of others who seem to have the perfect body and always had it without doing anything in particular. Um, Things like that. Maybe I don't pity myself or things like that. And it's those actions create a result. So it's really as if when you take those actions, when you do certain things, it's like doing math. It's just, oh, if I had this, this, and this, of course I create this result.
Mm.
Of course, 1 + 1 = 2. And so here, when I add all those actions together, it's as if the result is that, of course, I get the best gift ever
Mm.
because I'm in that loop, as you said, this feedback loop, this kind of addiction.
Yeah.
This is what I create for myself. What do you think?
No, that's true. And I love that you get to that y- you're giving yourself that initial thought,
Hmm.
right? Which in our coaching world, that thought and the result that we get tend
Yes.
to be exactly the same thing,
Mm-mm.
which in this case is a gift for myself when I turn 50,
Yes.
which is feeling great, right?
Exactly.
And
Mm.
maybe it's more specific. It's more like I can lift, I don't know,
Uh-huh.
50 pounds or whatever that number might be,
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
or I can fit into, a pair of jeans that I love. So
Absolutely.
something very specific, but it's a gift to yourself. Um,
Yes.
and it's for a lot of people, that's really hard to
Mm.
make that thought
Hmm.
exciting,
Yeah.
because it sounds good, but
Mm.
we're not really socialized to gift ourselves something,
Mm.
especially if it has work involved, right? If we have
Yeah.
to do something extra to
Mhm.
to to get it, to create it.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not, it's it's an option to
Mm-mm.
do so, it
Yes.
and why not give something to ourselves that we actually really want,
Mm.
um, when we can do it for other people
Yeah.
with not even thinking.
Mm-mm. Right.
So yeah, that's something that's mind-boggling to me. And maybe it's something that gets easier as we get older. What do you think?
Really. Yes. No, I like that. I think so because if we're thinking about health, and I think that's one of the benefits of getting older, people are very much more focused on health than
Hmm.
perhaps we were when we were 20.
Mm,
So maybe that's something that indeed we work on more and more. And as far as fitness, health is concerned, well, who better than you
mm,
who can give it to yourself? I mean, of
yeah.
course, I could take medicine, I could have surgery, but I don't want to go this way.
Yeah.
That's never been something that I like. So I'd rather give it to myself, especially since I noticed that there's no side effect. Although
Hmm.
there's only positive benefits. So that's rather the way I want to go to. And as you were saying, yes, some people might think that there's work involved, and it's true that going to the gym, planning, going grocery
Mhm.
shopping, something different than I used to have, that
Mhm.
that can be seen as requiring an effort. But I'm also thinking that it doesn't have to be seen as work. It can be
Mhm.
seen as a game, fun.
Mm.
Just I don't see the gym as a place I work, even though yes, I work out, but
Mhm.
I see it as my toy room, my game space. It's just the it's just like the schoolyard. It's just, oh, I get to play with that machine and then that one. I say, oh, I wonder how to use this one. So I notice that I'm very playful when I go there. And it's just, oh, I
Mm.
can't wait to try this one.
Yes. Well,
So
I like that, bringing it back to how, if we think of this whole thing as a game,
exactly.
and games are supposed to create fun and
Yes.
joy.
Hmm.
So, yeah, what if going to the gym and lifting weights or walking outside, what if it's all meant to be joyful
Mm-mm.
and fun? And this is something I heard not too long ago, and I'm probably not going to get it all right, but the definition of happiness
Hmm.
actually has a lot to do with us being able to overcome some sort of challenge,
Mm.
you know? Because when we do that, we feel satisfied.
Yeah.
So there's satisfaction involved
Mm-mm.
because, happy is a loaded term. So
Hmm.
um it can mean anything to different
Yeah.
people. But for me, like true authentic happiness is more like a feeling of satisfaction and joy,
Hmm.
and almost like I did something that maybe I didn't know I could do,
Mm. I love that.
because that's more lasting. That's a
Hmm.
feeling that you earned and
Yes.
not just given, right?
Mm-mm. I love that. It makes me think of the hero's journey,
Mm.
when the hero has to overcome challenges to
Hmm.
get to a better place. And it's just like, okay, everything seemed to be fine. Then, oh, plot twists. I've got
Yeah.
something to overcome. I've got a challenge to overcome. And when you do that, you learn and you grow and you get better at something else.
Hmm.
And it's also the story of the contrast. It's just like we have this idea that we need to pursue happiness as if happiness could be 100% of our life.
Hmm.
But at the same time, if it was 100% of our life, if we could be happy 100%, we wouldn't even know and understand what happiness is. So we need this contrast of, okay, something's gone wrong, so that then we get it right, we make it right, and then we experience this contrast. And I agree with you. It's this gap between what's not going so well and what's going better that's going to
Hmm.
give us that sense of accomplishment or purpose, some perhaps. And yeah, I love that. I love that idea. Mm.
Yeah. And what's coming to mind is when we turn the focus, now
Hmm.
that we're where we are in life, we've raised relatively decent humans, right? It's almost like now we get to do that with ourselves if we
Hmm.
choose to,
Yes.
and use the skills that we've
Hmm.
accumulated,
Hmm.
as a person, as a mother, um, and then use that on ourselves
Yes.
and to create those feelings
Mm-mm.
that I don't know. I mean, I think those feelings are priceless, when you feel satisfied and fulfilled and proud,
Hmm.
um, which is something I know you work a lot with your clients
Hmm.
around, food cravings and staying on course for like prioritizing themselves. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And I love that you use the word satisfaction, because there's the body, it goes back to what we were saying earlier, the sensations compared to the emotion. We can feel in our body is satisfied, our tummy is full of food. So
Mm.
basically we are satisfied, and yet we can feel in the emotional sense unsatisfied, and we still crave more food, but it
Mhm.
has nothing to do with the body. It's more
Mhm.
about the emotion and the way we think about a situation that makes us feel unsatisfied. And we think that we need the food to make ourselves satisfied, which in that case can't be true. The food is going just to make yourself a bit, bit nauseous, or the stomach won't like it, and
Mhm.
it will have repercussions. So it's really being able to make the difference between, yes, this physical satisfaction and this other form of satisfaction that food can never bring us, even
Mhm.
though we think, and it's very present in society, it's just like, oh, you're feeling bad, well, have a cookie and you'll feel better. That's
Mhm.
also the way I was raised when I was a kid. It's just like, oh, come on, have a piece of chocolate. And so
Yeah.
we tend to think that it's the way to go, but actually it doesn't solve the
Yeah.
emotion if the emotion needs to be solved. Yes.
Well, we can have a whole other conversation about food and emotions and
Mhm.
cravings because I'm a food lover and I actually love to eat. Like I love eating as an activity. But what I have found, especially as I get older, is I prioritize feeling both physically and emotionally um satisfied. I mean, I know that we're using that word a lot. I like to feel balanced, you know?
Mhm.
I like to feel like I did eat something wonderful and delicious that also makes my body feel good,
Mhm.
more energized, not heavy, not like bloated. So that's important. But also,
Mhm.
what's important, more important, I can argue, is that I'm proud of what I just did. Like, I'm proud of how I just nourished myself
Mhm.
or fill my body,
Yeah.
fill my tummy. Because it's very easy to create an imbalance between those two
Right.
things, right? Because food can taste so good and you want more. And
Mhm.
then you kind of let go of that wanting to feel good in all aspects of you.
Mhm.
So there's a fine line where you're full, your body is satisfied, and then you get to decide how you want to feel about yourself
Yes.
and mentally,
Mhm.
So what you do for your clients is, to me, so important is
Mhm.
to find that, mm, to find that the edge of I've had enough.
Mhm.
I'm satisfied physically. And now it's the work, the challenge
Yeah.
to overcome and to feel even more satisfied and proud of yourself is I don't need any more.
Mhm.
Um, or even before, like sometimes you're not hungry, your body doesn't need anything, but
Mhm.
your mind is craving something,
Yeah.
and usually it's not really craving food. It thinks it wants chocolate or
Mhm.
donuts or, a latte. But really it's wanting something that feels good, some
Mhm.
some sort of dopamine fix. So
Yeah.
that's something that I think a lot of us weren't taught how to do
Mhm.
and can can prioritize that
Mhm.
and hopefully create a different positive feedback loop and do something that makes you feel better and good so that you keep doing that again without needing something like food or alcohol or
Mhm.
you can insert anything that makes us feel good
Totally.
for 10 seconds,
Oh
right?
yes. Oh yes, because it's not just about food. You're right. There are so many things, other things like
Mm-hmm.
scrolling social media or having a cigarette. Yes, there's a lot of way that we look externally to feel
Mm-hmm.
better.
Yeah.
Yes, and it doesn't last very long this way. But I love that, and I love the way you mentioned how you talk to yourself afterwards,
Mm.
because that's key. There's the moment when you eat what feels good in your body, and sometimes we overeat, and sometimes we don't do it on purpose. We just don't realize because it takes 20 minutes for the brain to register.
Mhm.
But it's the way we talk to ourselves afterwards that is going to be a huge difference. If we just, as you said, just okay, I'm proud of myself, I filled my tummy, I've
Mhm.
fueled my body, and I'm feeling proud because of that. Or if something that I know I experienced a lot, which is okay, I overate again and I judge
Mhm.
myself very harshly, is just see, you're you can never get it right and things like that, that's actually not helpful, even though my brain thinks it's very, very important to focus on that so that I don't do it again. When I
Mhm.
think this way, it's actually so much more likely that I will do it again because I don't want to feel that nasty
Mhm.
judgment I have about myself. And that will actually, paradoxically, ironically, that will perpetuate this cycle of me overeating just to escape, just to
Mhm.
numb those emotions of this criticism that I have for myself. It's just so I love the way you wrote it. It's just like I can be proud, and we can
Mhm.
be proud whether we've eaten exactly what we said we wanted to eat,
Mhm.
or if we've overeaten just a little or more. There are always plenty of reasons to feel
Mhm.
proud about ourselves if we allow ourselves to experience that emotion.
Yeah, talk about pride. Just so helpful talking with you about this because what brings me to feeling proud of myself is
Mhm.
when I trust myself.
Yeah.
When I say
Mhm.
something that I'll do something and I actually do the thing,
Mhm.
could be the smallest thing. It's I go through this, it's like I have this constant conversation with myself all day long. If it's a chore that is going to take me 3 minutes,
Mhm.
there's a part of me that goes, but you don't have time.
Mm.
It's going to take too long, whatever it is to prolong and
Mhm.
procrastinate. But if I say to myself, it's only going to take 3 minutes. If you do it now, it will be done.
Yeah.
However, it happens in my brain. And when I do those things, when I do it, even if I don't want to,
Mhm.
it's like I'm irrationally proud of myself for having done it. And
Yes.
it's really comes from like I
Mm.
trust myself that I can do it, one. Two, that it's not going to take that long. And again, the more you do it, the more you can do it, because
Yeah.
then you can go back to like last time, like, oh yeah, it didn't take that long.
Exactly.
It's like making your bed. I constantly tell my adult children now how important it is to make your bed every day. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter when. Sometimes it's like right before you go to bed. Still make your bed, and it takes 90 seconds, maybe.
Mhm.
It depends on how big your bed is and how messy it is. But the difference it makes. So
Mm.
anyway, I'm happy to say that I believe one of them, I'm not going to name which one of my children, is now starting to do that and is very happy to be creating this new habit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, it's yeah, the self-trust, the
Mhm.
pride, and the feelings that we get from those, little things sometimes is
Totally.
priceless.
Yes, and those little things can build up. So
Mhm.
if we decide, to look for all the things we're doing right, all the things we said we would do, and that we're actually doing, and if we took the time to celebrate, then
Mhm.
that will, first of all, make us feel amazing in the moment, but also it will build up. It's like a snowball. It's just, oh, if
Mhm.
I can trust myself to do this, maybe I can trust myself to start doing this, which is brand new to me, which I'm
Mhm.
making it a bit hard right now because I am seeing all the difficulties, all the troubles. What if that could also become one of those things that I master now? And
Mhm.
I love that. Yes, from trust, as you said, from
Mhm.
trust you can build more trust, and it's just a ripple
Mhm.
effect. That feels so good.
Yeah, maybe the theme for 50 and up is just celebration of the self every day.
Oh yes.
Like,
Oh
what
yes.
can we do today so we can celebrate?
Exactly.
And do you know the coach who throws the confetti?
I've heard of her, but I don't remember the name.
Oh yeah, I think it's a he actually, and
Okay.
I don't remember his name either, but I've watched some of the coaching calls and he
Mm.
literally has confetti that he will throw into, the computer when he wants to celebrate someone.
Oh, I love it.
Big or small, it's great. So
Mhm.
yeah, I probably don't want confetti around my house, so I don't have to pick it up, but maybe it's like a invisible
Right.
confetti.
Exactly. Yeah, we could just do the move
Yeah,
and
yeah.
celebrate. It's just
pat our own shoulders, or
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Or just like a power pose, just like Superman. Or
Yes.
my son is very much into soccer, and I know that once they hit, well, when they score a goal, the football players tend to strike a
Oh,
pose.
yeah.
So that's also something that
Mhm.
we can do, whatever, yeah, whatever we want. And for me, it's just smiling to myself. Even if I have no mirror in front of me, I like to smile to
Mm.
myself, just like, good job.
Ooh, I like that. I think we each should have our own little invisible confetti.
Yes, absolutely. So fun. And maybe there's the possibility of a reaction on Zoom. Just like
Mm-hmm.
you can maybe throw virtual confetti. So
Yes. Okay.
just,
Now I'm gonna see, I just threw a
oh
confetti.
yeah, I can see
Yes.
it.
So if you're just watching, or actually if you're just listening to us talking, you can go to the YouTube version and watch the little little reaction on Zoom. Nan, this has been so fun.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I want to know before I let you go. So, do you have any big plans for the actual 50th
Mm.
birthday celebration?
Yes, actually, I booked on that day, I booked a photo shoot. So to
Mm.
celebrate my body, to celebrate what I look like. So it's going to happen. I'm going to have, it's actually the first time that I have, well, apart from when I was at school, it's the first time that I actually book a photographer for me, myself, and I.
Oh, I love
I
it.
wonder what it's going to be like, but I'm thrilled, and I've started thinking about the clothes I'm going to wear. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and of
Oh,
course I will celebrate with my family, but it's yeah, this is really the gift for my future self.
I love it. So I celebrate you for just doing that. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, you hopefully you will enjoy it during the actual photo
Mm.
shoot, but just the fact that you book that, I think is such a lovely gift, and that's coming up soon.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
going to
Well,
be
I have
fun.
to know how it goes.
All right.
If people want to reach out to you, talk to
Mhm.
you, get coached by you, how can they find you?
Yeah, so they can find me on the Instagram. On Instagram, I'm the at nan.saysana.coaching. Or they can find me on my YouTube channel, which is Nadej Saysana Coaching. Or they can find me on my website, which is thecravingscoach.fr, because I'm in
France.
France. Yes,
Hmm.
right. So,
I will put all of that in the show
yes.
notes so people
Mhm.
can go easily and quickly. And I'll also tag you in all the socials as well.
Mhm.
But thank you so much for just being here, doing what you do, and saying yes to Second Spring Podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It was so fun. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thanks, Nan.
Thank you.